18,000 years ago, Norway was covered in ice. Gradually, the climate warmed, the ice melted, and the first group of humans set out from Germany around 11,000 years ago during the Neolithic period. They traveled through ice-covered regions to reach this land. Over time, the climate became warmer and forests began to grow. Gradually, people started farming and domesticating animals. For the first time, the people of Northern Europe played a significant role in European history. The Swedes, Danes, and Norwegians had excellent ships and embarked on long sea voyages. They were known as Vikings. They traded, plundered, fought, and captured people for slavery. The Vikings had their own unique rituals and many gods. Many Vikings left Norway and settled in other regions. In 1349, 700 years ago, the outbreak of the plague drastically changed the lives of the people in Norway, killing between 50 and 60% of the population. The plague led to social and economic decline in Norway, and the survivors faced poverty and destitution. In 1814, at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, Norway attempted to regain its autonomy but came under Swedish rule. At the same time, Sweden proposed incorporating Norway into its territory, but this was met with resistance from Norway. Sweden then launched a swift attack and occupied Norway but agreed to let Norway retain its constitution. Although Norway's separate parliament was granted considerable independence, the growth of nationalism in Norway put significant pressure on the union with Sweden. In 1905, following a vote by Norwegians to dissolve the union, Oscar II of Sweden relinquished his claim to the Norwegian throne, allowing for a peaceful separation. After a Swedish prince declined the Norwegian throne, Prince Karl of Denmark was chosen by a public referendum and became King Haakon VII of Norway. Thus, we conclude that Norway is one of the oldest monarchies in Europe that still exists today. The first monarchy dates back to the year 994 AD and the arrival of the Vikings in what is now Norway, when a Viking named Olaf Tryggvason accepted Christianity and declared himself king. Norway remained neutral during World War I, but the war inflicted heavy damage on its shipping industry. During the war, significant portions of Norway's armed forces were mobilized to uphold its policy of neutrality with a focus on maritime defense. From the outset, Norway's neutrality was pressured by both Germany and Britain. When Britain began its blockade of Germany in the fall of 1914, and Germany responded with submarine attacks, Norway was forced to minimize its trade and political relations with Germany, unlike the commercial and fishing fleets, which suffered considerable losses due to the warring parties' actions. The armed forces did not sustain serious damage. The Navy had to handle several incidents that could have turned into political and security crises, inspecting foreign ships, defusing drifting mines, and dealing with wartime actions beyond Norway's territorial waters gradually became routine. In the fall of 1918, the waters of Karmi were mined to prevent German ships from bypassing the North Sea by passing through Norwegian waters. Towards the end of the war, the armed forces received significant amounts of weapons from France and Britain, who feared the German attack on Norway and doubted Norway's military capabilities. This was a prelude to what would happen 25 years later with the onset of World War II. During this period, the Norwegian king and government officials fled to London, UK, and continued their fight and resistance up there. Norway had a large fleet of merchant ships before the war. During the years of conflict, 1940 to 1945, many of these ships were engaged in transporting goods to countries fighting against Germany. The Norwegian government in London organized this transportation. Norway declared neutrality in World War II as well, but in 1940 it was occupied by German forces. the Germans established a puppet government led by Wittgen Quisling. Norway remained under German occupation from 1940 to 1945, during which large parts of the country were devastated by the war. Buildings, factories, and significant portions of cities were bombed and reduced to rubble. Many essential goods became scarce, and much of the population experienced hardship during this difficult period. About half of these ships were targeted by enemy bombs or torpedoes. Approximately 4,000 Norwegian sailors were killed during the war. In total, 10,000 Norwegian men and women lost their lives during the conflict. Nearly 700 of these individuals were Jews who were sent to forced labor camps in Germany and Poland. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered, and Norway once again became a free country. Around 50,000 Norwegians were identified as traitors after the war. They were members of the Norwegian National Socialist Party, National Samling, who supported and collaborated with the Nazis after the war, 1950s. If you're looking for a comprehensive documentary about Norway, be sure to watch Part 2 in October. And now we see the remarkable progress of Norway.